everyone, and thank you for joining our show today. My name is Amanda Tuominen.
And I am Alexandros Siafos, and we are both studying at EBS Helsinki campus.
And we have a very interesting guest joining us today. He is our new rector of EBS, Professor Meelis Kitsing.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting. It's a pleasure to be here.
Congratulations for your new position.
Thank you.
We as students of Estonian Business School are really interested in getting to know you and your vision. You have defended your PhD in the University of Massachusetts and done your master's in the London School of Economics. Could you tell us more about your career and yourself?
Sure, absolutely. I think now it is quite popular, given the words by Estonian Minister of Interior about Finnish Prime Minister, to start with the first job that people had. And actually my first job was when I was 12 years old. I worked in the Soviet farm where my grandparents worked, and I was actually taking care of cows. So I had about 100 cows that I had to look after. But later on, in the 1990s, I worked primarily in the private sector. I started working for Baltic News Service, which was at that time sort of a startup news company founded by graduate students at the University of Moscow when there were sort of turbulent times in Estonia and the Soviet Union. And from there I moved to advertising. So I was account director for some of the big names such as Bristol-Myers Squibb, Statoil, not just in Estonia but also in Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania and Belarus. And from there I went to consulting, and from there I actually for a while also in the late 1990s was sort of a small scale startup entrepreneur. We set up e-commerce company with my friends, and after that I have primarily been in academia. So I spent about 10 years outside of Estonia, in London and in Boston. When I returned to Estonia about 10 years ago, I started working in the public sector. I was head of economic analysis at the Ministry of Economic Affairs for 5 years. Then I also worked for the cabinet office, worked for 2 prime ministers, Taavi Rõivas and Jüri Ratas. And in parallel with that, I started to teach and gradually became full professor at the Estonian Business School.
So you have actually worked in so many different fields and sectors. So what really made you apply for this position as a rector for our school?
Well, I applied because I really see a very crucial role for a dynamic private university, both in Tallinn and in Helsinki. And I hope that I can actually help EBS to grow and to attract great students, and also to attract very talented faculty, because the talented faculty and great students, they go together, they attract each other. And this is actually something that I have already been trying to do at the Department of Economics and Finance, which I have been heading for 3 years. And if you look at our department, you see that we have actually hired quite a lot of new faculty, full-time faculty, not just from Estonia but globally. We've hired recently 2 people from United States, but we also have people who have done their graduate work in France. So we have actually grown quite diverse, and this is something that I would like to do at EBS on the larger scale.
Would this be your first steps as a rector, or what will be your first steps, and what aspects are you going to focus on during your first year?
I gave sort of a 5-year vision, what I plan to do. Obviously, I will start gradually in that sense that I'm not going to take any sort of radical shifts. It will be sort of step-by-step evolution, and certainly I want to emphasize sort of very clear, transparent management and try to communicate our vision to everybody, that everybody sort of understands what we're doing. That includes faculty, also students. I'm certainly interested in exploring opportunities, how to improve sort of ecosystem around our Tallinn campus, meaning to have a more cooperation with entrepreneurs, alumni alumni and other stakeholders, as well as in Helsinki. So I certainly think that our Helsinki campus should grow. We should collaborate more with companies we have in this wonderful area in Helsinki. You know, if you just walk 5-10 minutes or even less from our campus, there are lots of great companies there. We should establish stronger contacts, bring them to our campus, have guest lectures, also have more networking and have a stronger links with our alumni.
How do you consider that as the world is changing so much these days, what are the EBS key strengths to hold this position as a top university even during the next years?
We are a relatively dynamic university. We have a relatively small number of students, and I think this is actually a great strength in a way, because it allows us to be very interactive, to be very personalized, try to consider the personal needs of each student as much as possible. And I think it also allows us to be more flexible, to facilitate very different type of ways of studying. I mean, people study very differently. Some of the people like to study very quickly, to complete their studies very quickly. Others like to take their time more, work in parallel with their studies. And I think we should be open to those challenges and not to see them as sort of problems, but rather than opportunities to offer a very sort of wide range of different ways for people to learn business and management.
You mentioned also some plans for Helsinki, also as well as Tallinn, but do you have any specific plans for Helsinki?
Absolutely. I mean, this is something that I have already tried to start at the Department of Economics and Finance. I think traditionally the way we have operated is that a lot of the faculty at EBS campus in Helsinki commutes from Tallinn. But what I would like to do is that I would like to, if it's as much as it is possible, to hire more and more faculty also from Helsinki, and we have sort of gradually started with that, because I think having a stronger presence by professors in Helsinki helps to build a community. So this is certainly one key step, and I certainly would like to establish stronger links with entrepreneurs, policymakers, try to bring in more guest lecturers, try to establish different ways how students can collaborate, and certainly also bring back alumni to our campus. And we already actually in our department we already have actually hired EBS graduates as lecturers as well. So we have one lecturer in finance, and we have also a lecturer in math who are EBS graduates. And this is also one possible way to collaborate, is that either part-time or now and then visiting some of our alumni could also contribute more to EBS. So I think the stronger community is the key word here.
You must be very busy with your activities, and you will be also during the next year. So what are some of the things that helps you get through the week, or things that you like to do on your free time?
I actually do a lot of biking. In the last weekend, for instance, I biked almost 200 kilometers, and also in 2 weeks ago I biked another 200 kilometers on the weekend in 2 days. And I'm actually planning to bike next week about 400 kilometers, because it's more free time. And another thing that I love doing is swimming. So I also do quite a lot of swimming, and obviously the great thing also in my life is that I have a daughter who's 7 years old. So spending time with family, spending time in our country home is something that I do in our free time. It's especially nice opportunity now when we have been forced to live in this social distancing times.
So I'd like to ask you, where would you see EBS in, let's say, about 10 years?
My hope is that in 10 years Tallinn and Helsinki will be much more integrated as two cities, and we can sort of talk about one metropolitan area. If you want to, we can call it Helsinki. And I hope also that EBS will operate in a way that there is no difference whether we have EBS Helsinki or EBS Tallinn. We have two campuses, but it will be two very integrated campuses, and we are able to attract very smart, talented students globally, or at least from the European Union, depending on the immigration restrictions and other issues that are not up to us. And also we are competitive in this region, very competitive in this region in attracting great faculty who's able to do wonderful research. And research is not just something that I want the faculty to do more for the sake of research, but I think people who do great research, they can also use it for teaching, and they can also use it for building ties with the business community.
Do you see an opportunity for Estonian Business School to expand to other countries as well in the future?
Yes, in the long run, obviously. I mean, we are increasingly moving to sort of hybrid teaching model. It means that people from anywhere in the world, in one way or another, can actually come to EBS, and if there is a sort of sufficiently strong community in some place in the world where we see the opportunity of physical expansion, then why not? And of course it can also take a number of different ways. It could be a relatively small unit, it could be some kind of more temporary expansion, in the sense that offer also our students to go to the different cities and study there, or it can be something more permanent. But in that sense, I wouldn't rule out anything, and this is certainly something worth exploring.
Thank you for your time. It's been a pleasure to get to know you and your ambitious and exciting plans for the future. We'll be excited to see you around the two campuses.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to seeing you.
Thank you very much. And thank you also for our audience for joining us today. Hopefully you gained some new fresh insights.
And have a happy new semester.
Bye.
Bye.